Welcome to Joa Fitness Health Wellness Video Podcast, a space to ignite your day through positive conversations. We bring people that have created excellence in their life, sharing high vibration in their reawakening path.
Happy Friday, and you are tuning into Back into Alignment. My name is Joa Rivas, and I am the host of this podcast for the last 4 years. I wanted to welcome you to this community where we learn about back pain, and not only that, we actually find solutions for our spinal health. And we have every Friday guest, healthcare professionals that come to share their knowledge and the way how they support our community. Today we are with a rheumatologist here from the city of Toronto, and I'm excited to get to know who she is and how she's been developing this passion to support people in this specific area that we need so much support, as we were learning the last 3 months about osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and arthritis in general that is actually affecting 1 every 4 Canadians. In this moment, we have over 6 million of people with osteoarthritis, and the prediction to 2040 is actually 9 million. So let's get to know Dr. Vanessa Ocampo. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Joa. Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. It's so exciting to have a woman that is actually in that range of age where we actually start having these pains and aches that we don't even understand why they're coming. And it's super interesting to know you from that perspective as a woman and also as a doctor. So first of all, thank you so much for accepting this invitation. And we want to know exactly, when did you start to become so curious about the body and actually to take this serious step to be a doctor?
So, well, first, thank you for the invitation, and hello, everyone. As Joa said, my name is Dr. Vanessa Ocampo. I'm from Colombia, but I've been here in Canada for about 15 years now. So I became very curious about the body. Well, I grew up in a family of doctors, and when I was in med school, someone very close to my heart started having some joint pains and aches, and nobody was able to tell her what was wrong. Everybody were going from diagnosis of, oh, you have fibromyalgia, oh no, maybe you have lupus, oh no, maybe it's rheumatoid arthritis, oh no, maybe it's the menopause. Oh, so it was so much confusion around it, that I said, well, I should know what's wrong with her. And then I started reading more as I was in med school. And then when it was time to come to Canada and do my specialization, I said, well, I think I should be a rheumatologist, so I'll be able to help my person, and I'll be able to help other women that are suffering like her.
Okay.
That's what got me interested in that.
Your curiosity to take the specialization in rheumatology was related to your own family member that was actually suffering of a joint pain. Can we actually know what's happening to this family member, if you actually open to share?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So basically, it was mainly fibromyalgia. It wasn't rheumatoid arthritis. It wasn't lupus. It was fibromyalgia. But and fibromyalgia is something that we could talk about afterwards, because it's a very difficult diagnosis, as it has a lot of things around it, and sometimes people have misconceptions of it. So in rheumatology, it's difficult because women, as we age, we start having aches and pains, and we also have mental health issue that also can impact our joints and our musculoskeletal system. So yeah, that's what she had. Yeah.
And we are talking about your mom, who is this?
Yeah, I'm talking about my mom. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she has fibromyalgia, who's definitely, we will talk in the future about this particular condition that affects many women. I actually hear many of my friends before 30, they already have fibromyalgia. So it's actually becoming very common. Is it like an immune system response on the body?
It's not an immune. So fibromyalgia is a disease. It's a chronic pain syndrome. Uh, so as being a syndrome, it has a lot of signs and symptoms. It's not a single thing. But the main problem with fibromyalgia, it has to do with your brain. And a lot of people have the misconception that fibromyalgia is make up by you. Like it's, oh, it's in your imagination because doctors say, oh, it's in your brain. But it's not that. It's that there are abnormalities in your chemicals in your brain. So the way your body perceives your pain is different. So if your threshold for pain is here, people with fibromyalgia has it here. They have it here. So going to the nail salon to have their nails done for someone without fibromyalgia is no problem. They go and it's such a bad pain because all the substance in the brain there's they're so out of whack that they perceive the pain differently. There's a lot of things um, that impact the way you perceive the pain. Depression is one, anxiety is another one, changes with your hormones as we age, it's another one. What you do as being in your work, if you exercise or not, what you eat, how you eat, and sleep is number one thing in fibromyalgia. People think it's just people are like, why are you asking me how I sleep when I'm telling you about my pain? Um, yeah, so that is kind of a little bit about what fibromyalgia is, and it's not autoimmune. Actually, when you get someone with fibromyalgia, you need to make sure there is not an autoimmune condition because there are many things that could mimic the symptoms, and one of those could be fibromyalgia. So before saying someone you have fibromyalgia, you need to make sure there is no lupus, there's no rheumatoid arthritis, there's no other autoimmune condition. Once you said, okay, I don't have this, then you focus on the other things. Yeah.
Yes, Vanessa, I think we will have more talks about this specific condition, as you were telling us, is a big impact in our mental health, and many of the actions that we take in the lifestyle can actually influence in this the way as we perceive the pain, which is actually really interesting how you explained to us. I wanted to bring some interesting facts. 2 times as likely to have mental health issues for those people that have actually arthritis. If you have arthritis, you are more likely to live with mood or anxiety disorders than other Canadians. We are talking about 6 million of Canadians actually reporting arthritis. This is from the Arthritis Society, which is actually here in Toronto. I was visiting the center that does a lot of researches about what's happening with the arthritis. And Canadians with arthritis are nearly twice as likely to have mood disorders. We're talking about depression and we're talking about anxiety, for example. So this is something that we actually have to be aware of, that arthritis is not only a physical pain, can actually affect our mental state. And today we actually wanted to deep dive into the rheumatoid arthritis. We had another talk before, bringing rheumatoid arthritis with cannabinoids, how we can actually treat rheumatoid arthritis with cannabinoids, because as we are in Canada, we legalized the cannabis many years ago, and I like to know what's happening and what type of solutions we have that are not so into the pharmaceutical trend. So we talk about cannabinoids, but today I wanted to talk to you exactly about rheumatoid arthritis. You as a woman and also a very active member in the community of health. Can you please tell us about rheumatoid arthritis? First, what is rheumatoid arthritis?
Okay, so rheumatoid arthritis, it is an autoimmune condition. As this one, it is an autoimmune condition. As you already said at the beginning, um, it unfortunately, as we age, when you're younger in your teenage years, there is no major risk for it, although there's a form of arthritis that could affect children, but that's a different talk. But for women, um, between the ages of 30, 35. That's kind of when the symptoms start coming around it. Um, it's a serious disease because unfortunately it can cause um, changes in your joints that we don't treat on time. They can deform your joints, so it would affect your activities of daily living. And not only that, it is a systemic disease. So what we see, it is joint being affected, but rheumatoid arthritis being an inflammatory disease, it affects your heart, it can affect your eyes, it can affect many parts of your body, including mental health. About 1 in 5 Canadians live with arthritis every day. So basically, just to say um, in more colloquial words, I would say it's an inflammation of your joints. And in rheumatology, we have a big umbrella of inflammatory arthritis, where we can say that we said roughly, oh, you have an inflammatory arthritis, but you could have rheumatoid arthritis, but you could also have something called psoriatic arthritis. You could have crystal arthritis. So there are different types. Or you could also have inflammation of your joints related to problems of your stomach, like IBD, like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. Um, but rheumatoid arthritis is one of those of the inflammatory arthritis family members. How do we know it's rheumatoid arthritis? How to diagnose rheumatoid arthritis? So it is important. It is more common in women, I would say, than in men, but we see it in men as well. But it's much, much more common in women. Um, Usually it starts with the small joints of your hands. Something that is very particular about rheumatoid arthritis is the type of pain and where it's localized. So, for example, rheumatoid arthritis tends to, we call it symmetrical, meaning both hands at the same time, both elbows at the same time, both of your wrists at the same time. And it tends to start in the little joints. It tends to be we call it the MCP, these little knuckles over here, and the PIP, the proximal interphalangeal joints over here. Different from, for example, psoriatic arthritis, because sometimes it's a little hard when people come and we're like, what is this? Psoriatic arthritis have a tendency to affect these ones, the distal ones, okay? And psoriatic arthritis, it could be symmetrical. I'm not saying it cannot be, but most of the time, people have like 1, 2, or 3 fingers, but on one hand, it's not symmetrical like rheumatoid arthritis. People have stiffness. Um, they tend to tell you, oh, I wake up in the morning and I have morning stiffness. I work up like a little robot, and it lasts about 20 to 30 to 60 minutes until I start like kind of get going. They start having the little joints. At one point, the joints they start affecting the bigger joints. And people start having systemic symptoms as well because of the inflammation. There's a substance called interleukin 6 that it has a lot to do with inflammation in your body. So people feel tired, and believe it or not, people start losing weight a lot. You see, when you see people with rheumatoid arthritis chronically ill, they're so skinny. And it's because the inflammation is so bad in their bodies that they stop eating, they stop exercising, so they start losing the muscle mass. Um, yeah, that's what it is. So if you're a woman and if you are between the ages and 35, between 30, 50, and you start having morning stiffness, pain, and swelling of your knuckles or the middle joints, um, they're symmetrical, both hands. It's a good idea to see your doctor. As I said, Joa, important, important, important. Women over ages as well, we could have symptoms like that. It could be fibromyalgia, So it is important to see someone who can tell you that you have it in your hands. Is it really your knuckles being swollen, or is a different type of um, sensation of being swollen, but not really having your joints affected? Because that's the hardest part when you become that differentiating rheumatoid arthritis between other arthritis and also maybe fibromyalgia.
And yes, thank you so much, Vanessa, for explaining the symmetrical issue that happens on our hands. And if this is actually ringing your bell, perhaps like, oh, you know what, I actually have this. We encourage you to search for a local doctor in your community. This podcast goes globally, so anywhere where you are, try to find your doctor to get the proper testing instead of diagnose with Dr. Google, right? I actually had a lot of pain the last 3 months. As I tell my community, this podcast has been for 4 years. And I kind of know my body. I'm very intuitive with my body, and I know something was happening. And I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis, and this was done with an X-ray. Actually, X-rays can tell you if you have osteoarthritis. And just 3 months ago, I became aware of this disease with a little bit more curiosity because it actually affected me. My mom has osteoarthritis since she was 39, and I'm only 37. And I was already diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my neck and in my lower back. So it's something that I have to deal with it now, and I only can treat it. Continue with the proper lifestyle, as you were telling us. It's super important to have a proper body weight, body mass, and physical activity that can actually diminish any type of impact that can create more inflammation in the body. As we know, when we eat sugar, it causes inflammation. When we are drinking alcohol, it causes inflammation. So yes, we do have to do some modifications in our lifestyle to prevent more inflammation that is already occurring. As you were telling about the hand inflammation, this is probably one of the most common areas to develop rheumatoid arthritis. Is actually on the hands. And as I was looking for the content to share with you today, we found that 2 times as likely to be out of the workforce when you have arthritis. We're talking working age Canadians with arthritis are twice as likely to report that they are not participating in the workforce compared to the peers without arthritis. And significantly reduced participation is seen at ages as young as 35, and highlights an increased needs for support for starting and staying in work. So it's actually hard to work when you actually have pain in your hands. Imagine typing, imagine moving and grabbing and grasp. It's pretty hard. Like our hands, we use them so much until we have difficulty to realize how sacred our hands are. And I also hear a lot about knee rheumatoid arthritis, which causes a lot of pain to walk. I mean, can you imagine if you cannot walk properly? That will also affect our work and the way as we move and the way as we actually do everything in life. So now, from your perspective as a doctor, I wanted to share maybe some case studies or some type of trends that you see after the pandemic. Do you notice that you're getting more cases at a younger age, or some type of trends that you see since the pandemic has been going away?
Okay, interesting that you mentioned that because throughout the pandemic and when vaccination started and after the pandemic, I started seeing different things in my clinic. So I've started seeing a lot of fibromyalgia. I started seeing a lot of osteoarthritis. And then I started discovering people that before they were kind of busy doing their thing, not paying attention to their symptoms. They were at home, had the virus, and then all of a sudden, boom, all the joints are inflamed, and then now they have rheumatoid arthritis. So just to talk about a little bit about because you mentioned that, so I wanna just say about it. It's the osteoarthritis because it is important that I mention it because osteoarthritis is one of the most common forms of arthritis. But it is important to know that even though is the most common type of arthritis that actually affect Canadians, it is very different from rheumatoid arthritis because rheumatoid arthritis, it is an inflammatory disease, whereas osteoarthritis is the wear and tear of the joints. So a lot of patients get confused and they go to the doctor and say, "Oh, they told me I have arthritis," but they don't know if they have rheumatoid arthritis or they have osteoarthritis. They just say, "Oh, I have arthritis." So different from osteoarthritis to rheumatoid arthritis is that with osteoarthritis is that wear and tear, and what basically happens is that your body, because there's wear and tear of the little cushions between your joints, what your body does is just, and so you start losing the cushion, your body start trying to um, fix that, to repair the damage that happened between the joints. So people have a little bit of more bone. So that's why you see the bony parts in people in the hands. Osteoarthritis is also one of those that affect the distal joints, different from the little ones here. And it's more common to be in the big joints. So you tend to see it most, in the knees. Uh, it doesn't mean that rheumatoid cannot affect the knees, because it can, but it tends to be more of the bigger joints like osteoarthritis. Okay, so just wanted to make
Yes.
that make clear. Okay, so with the pandemic, what I've seen with the pandemic, so um, a lot of patients with after the virus, after they had the virus, I've seen a lot of people having increase in the joint pain that they had from before, and more inflammatory type of problem that they from what they had from before. Um, it is very hard for me to say if what I'm seeing right now, it was directly related to the virus, it was directly related to the quarantine, it was directly related to the vaccines. We don't have enough evidence yet to talk about that. But I think it was a lot of combination of the environmental factors that increase, at least, or made more people aware of, oh, I'm achy, oh, I'm stiff in the mornings, oh, I wake up and I have nowhere to go, oh, I'm achy, I can't move, oh, I need to do this, oh, my hands are swollen. So that's kind of like the things that I've started seeing after um, the pandemic and then all of this that happened. Yeah. Also important, just remember, other things that I started seeing, a lot of musculoskeletal problems related to working out at home without proper guidance. So injuring their knees, injuring their hands, injuring their backs. That's also something that I started seeing after the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we don't have a specific proof that the pandemic and the quarantine and the sedentary life has actually been affecting the inflammation, but definitely you see that is bringing more people with the stiffness, which is actually logical, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
40% of people that have arthritis have pain that limit their activities. Again, all these numbers that I'm sharing with you are from the Arthritis Society. So they're actually
Yeah.
the most reputable sources that we can actually rely on here in Canada. And we're actually talking about Canada. If we go with American numbers, you will go crazy because the population there is much bigger and the impact is much bigger as well. Now,
Yeah.
Vanessa, before we finish our call, because I know you have a very busy day, thank you so much for making this call so early in the morning. I wanted to share with you a little bit of our community that wants to know about you more. Can you please tell us where we can find you? And if I have rheumatoid arthritis, which is the one we're talking today, if I have rheumatoid arthritis, what would be the number one key for me to live a life with a proper quality, if let's say in that way?
So if you are diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, I think you need to have a pharmacological approach and a non-pharmacological approach. I think those two are very important. And you need, for your pharmacological approach, you need to have your doctor, uh, ideally your rheumatologist, that will properly diagnose you. And there are specific medications that you will need to take to stop the disease from damaging your joints and the rest of your body with the inflammation. And those medications um, are medications that work very well for patients, but could have a lot of side effects and need to be properly follow up. So I will encourage people to go to their doctor, a family doctor, and have a referral to a rheumatologist to have that part of the pharmacological component cover up. For the non-pharmacological approach, I said that the Arthritis Society is one of the best things we have in Canada because at the Arthritis Society, even if you don't have rheumatoid arthritis, you could go there if you have osteoarthritis, if you have fibromyalgia. For any type of MSK issues, the Arthritis Society is great because they have specialized people, occupational therapists and physiotherapists that will guide you through how to cut your meat, for example, how to open the door in your house, because that's one of the symptoms we must say. I can't open jars anymore, doctor. I can open the door in my house because they start having so much inflammation of the wrist, which is another very common um, joint that gets inflamed with the rheumatoid arthritis. So the Arthritis Society is an excellent tool. They will teach you that. They will let you know if you need any orthotics for your fingers, for your wrist. They're fabulous. And exercise. It's been in everything, in anything from in medicine, exercise does wonders for you. So having rheumatoid arthritis is painful to exercise when you have a flare. So it is important to have a physiotherapist that will guide you through what to do, how to do it. In the days when you're flaring, what things you could do. That is very, very important. A good diet. And it doesn't mean you have to only eat vegetables, but it means just to have a balanced diet. Losing weight, it's one of the most important things because balancing your weight will decrease the levels of inflammation in your body, and people with rheumatoid arthritis have increased cardiovascular risk factors. So losing weight, exercising, it's also part of that non-pharmacological approach.
Yes, okay. I hope everyone took notes of all these specific approach, which is not only a pharmacological approach, but also lifestyle, as we were chatting. Motion is lotion. As
Oh
much
yes.
as we move, it's so important to keep our body moving, even though that we feel pain. Moving is actually one of the ways to activate our body and to keep our bone density. And I encourage you to come to the yoga and Pilates classes, which are classes a little bit less impact. And I know Vanessa loves to wake up in the morning, meditate, and train. As a woman, she's an example of a lifestyle that look.
That's why I look like this right now. Sorry.
No, no,
I
you're
was doing my yoga and my meditation at 4 a.m.
super, super. That is the way. Remember, actually, when you train, you also improving your hormonal balance. So you're also releasing those happy hormones and hormones that makes you feel alive. So we encourage you to move, and we encourage you to visit the Arthritis Society if you're here in Toronto, or to find your local doctor that you trust so you can get referral to a rheumatologist like Vanessa. So thank you so much, Vanessa. Have a beautiful weekend. And remember that you're not alone. If you do have rheumatoid arthritis, or if anyone in your family or friends, please share this content with them. And if you have any questions, please send it to us. Vanessa, do you have any social media? I know now even doctors are following the world with social media. Do you have any social media that we can actually contact?
I do have social media. I have an Instagram. I used to be very active, not that much anymore because I'm a little busy, but I have. It's Dr. VOD, like my initials, the rheumatologist. Or if you search Vanessa Ocampo in Instagram, that's me.
Okay, I will add all these notes in the chat notes and the show notes, so you will have them, so you can actually get the access right away. And yes, we actually encourage you to move and to find and to seek professional support. Very important. I hope this helped you to have a better and happy life And I'm telling you from my own experience having osteoarthritis, we can definitely find a way to find balance. So thank you so much. And remember that together we are stronger.
We invite you to subscribe to this channel and share with your community. Please leave comments below, and if you like the episode, click the like button. Have a beautiful day.